I have to ask this question. I have a friend who runs quite a well-known Mellotron website, and I think he would like to know, does Porcupine Tree use any real Mellotron?
Yeah, we have done. Depending on the circumstances, we've also sampled a real Mellotron. Well, as everybody has done, I guess. But no, there's definitely some Mellotron on a few of our albums. Obviously, when you're playing live,
they go out of tune.
Yeah.
A lot.
So you just kind of use emulations, but again, you lose a lot of the substances live anyway, and it seems to work okay. But yeah, very enjoyable keyboard to play. Very demanding.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Can I ask Graham, how did you make the stab sound on Cubic?
Yeah, it was a combination of various things layered in the sampler. I think it was a microwave, not doing a pop noodle, you know, the keyboard microwave. There's a thing called a Bit 99, which again a very sort of digital analog hybrid, and there's a mini boom in the bottom of it as well. So it's a sandwich of three sounds.
So it's got nothing to do with the electric guitar sampled and played?
Yeah, it was actually played off a Casio MIDI guitar as well, because it's very guitar shaped. You know, I wouldn't have come up with that off a keyboard. I'd actually just bought a Casio guitar that day, and it was like, well, let's try this out, and that's kind of what we came up with, which is almost like a Zeppelin-esque kind of riff, but very synthetic. In fact, lots of the other sounds on that track are played off the Casio MIDI guitar as well.
So nothing to do with a real guitar sample, because everyone just...
Oh yeah, there's some real guitar playing on it as well.
I mean the actual stab sound. A lot of people said, oh, it's just
Yeah.
a bit of a...
No, that's purely
guitar
synthetic.
power
Yeah.
chord played up and down a bit.
Yeah, it's purely synthetic and out of a Casio FZ. I'm saying Casio a lot in a Roland remake. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask a question if I may, because earlier on today we did the show to a lot of the students that were here, and they had never seen most of this gear, and there's a few bits that you're about to see behind. Never seen any of this before, and were completely amazed at how some of this gear had created some of the more modern music. So I guess this is a question for Graham and Jody, probably, to answer together about the TR-808. And I know it's not a synth fest, but I was fascinated by what these kids were saying, the TR-808, and how you use that as part of your music.
And strangely enough, considering we named the band after the 808, our main drum machine was the 909, so I'll let Jody answer that, because I know he's an 808 fanatic.
Well, I mean, you know, I picked up an 808 when there's for an incredible price for about 100 quid when I was like still a teenager, so I was very lucky, considering they go for about £1,000 now. But it's really weird because the 808 cowbell still gets used, like even to this day, has suddenly become like seriously popular again. You know, especially in like house music, and the rim as well gets used as a hi-hat quite often. The clap, you know, it's like basically all the sounds are just fully being rinsed in this new wave of house music, and it's crazy because, you know, in the first place, the drum machine was supposed to sound like drums, and it never did, and it was never going to, and you know, I think it's, you know, it's kind of had its place for the last 20 years in a strange kind of random way. So it's a bit of a fluke, really, but a beautiful fluke.
Another question for Richard. At the beginning of Quiet Life, there's like an arpeggio, and I've tried to create it a few times over the years without any success at all. What did you actually use for that? Because it sort of sweeps and moves.
It's just an analog sequencer like the one I've got here. Quite simple 8-step sequencer, just as you get for, you know, Donna Summer, I Feel Love, that kind of sequence, and it was played off of this. There's a section in the middle where ring modulation is brought in, and various other things are fed into this module to kind of enhance the sound, but yeah, just the basic.
Are you up for just giving us a quick example, do you think, Richard?
I don't mind, well I can, shall I do just a quick overview of this?
Well, yeah, just give us, it's mine,
Taking up too much time.
It is Mike, I thought I recognised Mike, yeah. So maybe we, yeah.
Okay, I'm sure we'll decide to, oh, that's nice. Okay, so we've got three oscillators with the sine, triangle, sawtooth, square with pulse width. Play a kind of analog style. That's 8 steps going up and then 8 steps going down, which is assigned to oscillator 2. Kind of thing.
Were you quite amazed the first time you created your first sequence? Obviously it was,
yeah. I mean, you hear it a lot. You know, I was listening to a lot of Tangerine Dream and rock work, but nothing beats it when you finally, you know, do that yourself. This was from, you know, a keyboard player called Rod Argent.
Yeah.
He used to have a shop in Denmark Street off the Charing Cross Road. It was Tin Pan Alley, loads of music shops there. And got that off of him in 1976.
Listen.
Do the guys each have a favourite Roland synth?
I'll give you 10 quid if you can guess. Begins with J.
Is that really?
9 minus 1, 8, of course. It's beautiful. I'm extremely happy and fortunate to own one as well. I use it in pretty much every track to this day, so yeah, it is. I mean, it's worth trying to steal it actually if you've got some kind of moves. Do you know what I mean? There's one there. So see what we can do. Good luck.
I've got one of the other Roland. Which one?
No, actually, you'll see some gear in a minute, and only one of those pieces of equipment belongs to us. This is the SX1000. Everything else that you see, with the exception of Richard's equipment, everything else we've had to pick, borrow and steal. Don't steal it because it's not ours.
So don't Roland have like at least one of every single...
If you go to the factory in Hamamatsu, the R&D centre, there is one of every single product we've ever made, and the museum is a huge big place you can wander around. But none of the joint venture, none of the Roland countries around the world have really kept hold of. It's a shame. Should have done.
What's security like?
We should maybe run a competition, an Indonesian competition to go over there and have a look around. But that's a really interesting question. I wonder if I can get Richard and Graham to answer it as well.
I would say the one I've used most and the one I had first was the SH101. I think it was a revolution really because it kind of put synthesizers in the hands of mortals. You know, before the 101, they were pretty unobtainable things in music shops that you could drool over but never hope to own. And getting the 101, it had the sequencer in it and the arpeggiator, and you could do automatic stuff with it. You know, you didn't have to be a great keyboard player to begin with. And it kind of opened up a world of synthesis that, you know, particularly when you're playing live, you can just look at the 101 and know where you are. You can do it in the dark with strobes and dry ice. You can still do it, you know, you don't have to go through multiple layers. And, I think it's a very simple device, and it opened up a world for me. Well, another one of the mainstays that I'm still using is the Juno 106. Particularly just fills a particular bass area in most mixes that you know, you can just lean back on the sub bass in it. It's been useful for over 20 years to me, and yeah, those are, I'd say, my two mainstays. Though I have many others. I'm quite fond of one that's like an organ and strings. It's an 09 strings and organ synthesizer. I use that an incredible amount. It's just a cheesy little string synth, but I've used it on countless things. Love that one. And other Roland products include the Space Echo is something I think is one of their most fabulous inventions. You know, it's in every culture of music. You know, dub played such an important part in the history of dance music. And you know, that is the mainstay of dub, the Space Echo. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the D50 actually, as well. You need the PG1000 programmer because it can be, you know, quite complex to program, but that makes it easy. And I've used that in tons of stuff. I used to use it live a lot as well, and I love it. Mostly, I'd gravitate towards the kind of virtual analog and the waveforms rather than the sample functions, but it has beautiful tones and some really nice. There's a chase function, which is really nice in ambient music because you can build up atmospheric loops, and it kind of, I suppose, chases itself, and that's really cool. So I've used that a lot, and in more recent years, the V-Synth. I still use the original V-Synth. I've got the GT, but I like the original V-Synth, and I use that on everything. It's right there at the front of my rig for the live shows.